Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Alexandra Terry. I am the Chief Curator at the Museum of Contemporary Art Santa Barbara, and we're so delighted to have you with us this evening. We have three lovely, amazing, wonderful speakers joining us, and we're going to have a fairly informal conversation. We are recording this, so it will be available on our YouTube channel, which I believe is under MCA Santa Barbara. And if you have any questions, if any questions come up for you, feel free to place them into the chat box and we will address those towards the end. We'll kind of open up and have a Q&A for everybody. And I thought I would start by introducing our wonderful speakers. All right. So tonight with us, we have Lucy. Lucy was born and raised in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, as the curator and co-founder of Ladies First LA, a multimedia art show created to highlight femmes in all art forms. Lucy aims to highlight people of color, especially women of color, in the art world. Currently the regional manager of Montana Color's flagship stores, her passion for graffiti has led to exciting opportunities for herself and the community she represents. Thank you for being with us, Lucy.
Thank you.
And we have Katharina Stenbeck, who is a Swedish artist and electronic musician who splits her time between Los Angeles and Stockholm. Her work spans painting, stop motion anxiety.
Fitting for today. Yeah, for today's topic. That should be a new art form.
Stop motion animation.
Yes.
Short film and audiovisual live performance. Her latest short film, I Have Anxiety, is an intimate portrait of the many faces of anxiety in which she uses humor and vulnerability to express her own personal experiences. The film is currently playing in
Liljevalchs. Tricky pronunciation on that
in
one.
Stockholm, Sweden. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we have Masa Zargaran, who is an audiovisual artist who is currently creating a life-size sculpture series and electronic music as part of an installation on modern female mythology. In this series, Zargaran draws on the connection between women and the natural world and aims to reimagine the role of women in myth. The characters in her audiovisual landscape rely on their innermost feminine attributes to navigate their world. They are not copies of male myth heroes dressed in female suits. This is perhaps a parallel portrait to Masa's own life, as her work spans multiple male-dominated industries. Masa releases and performs her works under the pseudonym Omniflux. All right, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. And so the vulnerability of creativity. I have to say that the topic of this conversation has been rolling around in my head for quite some time. I've been thinking a lot lately about this idea of radical transparency and what it means to be honest and transparent about our physical experiences as human beings, but also about our experiences as artists, creatives, people who are living in the world, creating, working with one another. And I had a conversation with a friend that Lucy was a part of, and we started talking about imposter syndrome. And it just started rolling out this sort of relational conversation about all of our different experiences of imposter syndrome as women, as creatives, as humans, again, you know, just this ongoing understanding of what that might mean. And then Katharina hit me up about this amazing short film, and all the pieces came together. So if you haven't had a chance to view I Have Anxiety, the short film by Katharina Stenbeck, it is available on her website. Right. And so that was the impetus of this conversation. And I'd like for each of our speakers to give a short introduction of yourself. I know I read your bio, but maybe something personal that you'd like to share with us, and that can kind of lead us into this conversation. So why don't we start with Lucy?
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. And Alex, again, I know I said it time and time again. Thank you for holding space, especially for us women. It's so important. And it's so empowering to be amongst women that are just pushing boundaries. So with that being said, I am now, as of about 2 weeks, official regional manager of Montana Colors flagship store for the United States. I was currently the manager of the only Montana store in the US, but now I'll be traveling to Miami in 2 weeks to open the second flagship store, and then to New York in Lower Manhattan to open the third one. I am way out of my comfort zone. I quit my job of 12 years as a fragrance specialist for Dior at the shops of Montebello, where I met Marina, and which got me connected with Alex, because I wanted to follow my passion. I was really uncomfortable. I know I'm not the best graffiti artist, but I'm one of the few women that are willing to connect our skill of graffiti with the compassion of community. So my input, or the way I look at life, is do things not for the next generation, for the next 7 generations. So don't think about your little sisters, your nieces, your cousins. Think about their great grandchildren. We're talking way beyond our time. So thank you again. And that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm currently pushing boundaries. I'm really, really uncomfortable just speaking to you ladies. You guys are motivating me in ways you can't even imagine. And I'm just grateful. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you. And how about Masa?
Yes, well, I loved what Lucy said, especially what you said about combining your skills and what you have to bring and combining that with community. I thought that was so beautiful. For me, I initially was strictly an audio artist. I'm a music producer. I create electronic music that has like symphonic and orchestral elements in it, with a lot of vocalization as well. So it's a singing project, and I've been, performing and touring for years and years. And prior to that, I went to architecture school and had this visual background that I put aside for a while, but it was this thing that needed to come back out. And I started having these dreams. I mean, I just have a very active dream life. I document my dreams pretty consistently. And I started having these really vivid dreams of these large scale sculptures and paintings that all had this Mesopotamian nature, which is, strangely enough, my roots. Like, if you go far, far, far back, I'm of Persian descent. If you go far back, that's my roots. I was having these Mesopotamian creatures, but with like a modern twist on walls. And in all my dreams, I was running around trying to find, who is the artist that made this? I want to find out more about this artist. And it was a recurring dream. And at the end of the dream, someone always told me, you're the one who made this. Do you not remember? So I was, this kept happening to me, and I kept waking up and thinking, oh, I think I need to do something about this. Like, this is a signal. Maybe my life is not, I'm not just meant to be a musician. And also, touring life was becoming increasingly difficult on my body physically. And I felt, just not grounded, and needed to find a practice where I can stay in one home base for a long time. So I just started to kind of unearth visual art, and decided that, my medium is not the thing that dictates what my work is, but rather the other way around. My intent, like, what am I trying to say? What themes am I trying to touch on? And that's the thing that's going to dictate what medium I'm going to use. And other than that, you know, I live in Portland. I'm a gardener and yeah, just living life. Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, and thank you so much. I forgot to say it.
Thank
you so
guys.
much
Thank you all
for having me be a part of this.
No, we're just
wonderful. Yes.
so happy to be together. And I think now is a good chance to hear from Katharina, and if you tell us about you and your practice, but also then maybe introduce the work I Have Anxiety.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Katharina. I'm a Swedish artist. I have appeared out of Masa's garden today,
Yeah.
as it seems. I have bounced for many years between Los Angeles and Stockholm, and I work in a lot of different mediums, like Alex mentioned in the little bio. I have done stop motion animation, or stop motion anxiety, this new art form that we should all be pursuing. I've worked a lot in video and performance and music and electronic music production, and similar, I feel, to Masa. The medium is not so much what dictates the process. The red thread is really that I'm the one making it and I'm the one expressing myself. And there are recurring themes in my work. And I've been looking at, in sort of lead up to this panel, I've been looking at anxiety also as it pertains to past work that I've made and where it might have popped up previously, which has been interesting actually to look at, because it's been a little more, you know, not as obvious, but I do see it like, oh, this is where I touch on that, or there's a recurring sort of theme of different ways. But the film in question that we're talking about today is called I Have Anxiety. And it came out online. It's for free online. You can find it on my website, KatharinaStenbeck.com, and you can stream it there. And it's a 5-minute long short film, and it's 11 different vignettes. And each vignette showcases a different type of anxiety that I personally can relate to. Everything from imposter syndrome to perfectionism to body image and others. And for each vignette, I personally perform a type of physical activity. I sort of give that type of anxiety a physical form. I sort of interpret what it would look like in a physical form if it was an activity or a physicality, if you will. And it often becomes a little humorous, but it's obviously also very heartfelt. And it's been fantastic that it's been out there and receiving so many lovely, warm comments, and a lot of, I'm understanding there's a lot to relate to for a lot of different folks in the film, which is, you know, it's just so awesome and touching. And yeah, and that it is playing at Liljevalchs in Stockholm is really an honor, because that's my hometown, and yeah, that always means so much when something is up and running in your hometown. So that's been the journey of the film, and I can gab for a long time about how that film came to be and all these different things, but that's the tidbit about what the film is and how it fits into the context of our conversation today.
And, you know, one thing I just want to say up front is this talk, I mentioned vulnerability, the vulnerability of creativity. And for me, the vulnerability element is this conversation, is the fact that we're talking about these things. And as I mentioned, you know, I was on a different conversation with Lucy, and this idea of imposter syndrome came up. And I think Lucy and I were both expressing before we welcomed the audience in how, like, this deep connection we had to the film, Katharina. And the conversation started to, one thing that Lucy mentioned was, you know, working in a male-dominated field. And I found that really touching and really interesting to hear about. And then Katharina, you shared something similar. And then I think Masa, in your bio, there's this kind of similar tone. So I'd love to maybe start talking about that. Just as, because imposter syndrome seems to be this kind of, you know, car alarm that's going off, and maybe a great way to start the conversation. But Lucy, I'd love to hear from you, and maybe you can sort of tell us a bit about your experience as a graffiti artist, graffiti writer, and at Montana, and how that imposter syndrome has affected you.
Absolutely. Well, to start off, let's say I was not, my intention when I came to the interview was not to be the store manager. It was to be the cute girl that knows how to spray paint, that will be nice to the customers, because I worked in retail. It was definitely not highlighting me for my skill set and passion. It was more somebody kind of recommended me based on my customer service skills. So I showed up. I in my heart and my soul, with my ambitious mind state as an Aries, if you guys are into astrology, fire sign, good luck. So I came in very like, all right, I'm ready to do this. I'm interested in the manager position. And they're like, oh, wait. Lucy, right? You work at retail, you have like 12 years. Well, we're kind of thinking you were gonna be like, you know, the one bringing people in, like the charismatic person. I was like, oh, well, check it out. I actually am the lead for Dior, for Prada, for Clarence, and Versace. And no, I'm looking for a manager position. I'm coming from getting paid X amount, and they pretty much to shorten up told me, well, you know what, we can't pay you that. This is what we can offer you. And yeah, and I told them, well, check it out. Whoever you had in mind for manager position, how about we both start out the same day? We both get the exact same things to do. And how about you take it from there? Because I'm not gonna settle for that. In my head, I was shitting it. I was like, holy shit. Am I gonna quit my job that I'm totally secure? I go to the mall at 4 o'clock. I have my Starbucks. By 9:30, I'm good. I have my commission. I'm safe. I could pay on my time off. Do I really want to put myself in that when from the start there, the glass ceiling is there? I thought I was breaking free. And they're just like, hi, hey, cutie, what's up? And I was just like, all right, well, let me challenge you and just give me the opportunity. I'll start with that pay. And I did. And now I run the shop. I tell my boss what's gonna go down. I don't ask, I tell him. I ask for forgiveness later. Shout out to Marina, she taught me that one. She's always told me, Lucy, you take your action, ask for forgiveness later. We don't got time for that. Most likely you're making the right decision. And I took that and I ran with it. So now, you know, I take initiative. I went and I used my platform. I have accessibility to paint, one of the best paints in the world. Montana Colors has 26 shops around the world, and we're the only one here in the US. Why would I not start reaching out to females and seeing what they got and seeing how I can help them? Why don't I go to Montebello, my hometown, and why don't I go reach out to artists and see how I can uplift them? You know, don't forget where you came from, baby girl. That's all I kept telling myself in the back of my head. I kept giving myself from imposter syndrome you're not good enough, dude. Like from the beginning, they already expected you to be this. Are you sure? I cried the first month of Montana Color. I was miserable.
No, we're losing her.
So just go back.
Oh,
There you.
let's see, we're losing the connection a little bit. Lucy, can you hear us? I'll give it a little time to come back and I'll chat her. But yeah, I mean, I think, Katharina, that led to a conversation that you and I are having about, you know, being in music and in the music in a male-dominated electronic music scene. And I wonder if you can speak a little bit to that. And also Masa. Oh no.
Oh, maybe is she popping back in?
Hang on, I'm gonna.
Maybe she's doing stop motion anxiety right now.
I think so.
This is what it looks like. This is it. This should have been the 12th vignette in the film.
Yes.
That would have been it.
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah, hopefully she'll jump back in. I had this happen the other day. Our power just went out in the house, which was kind of banana. Oh,
She's back.
I'm telling you, I talk way too much.
You're here. No.
The MacBook was like, girl, your time. You know, when they give you the ringer, they're like, okay, that's cute. You got that to stay with it. So yeah, pretty much to sum it all up, I had a real hard time. I had to coach myself. And even though I felt I wasn't worthy enough, or I was like, damn, even if it's a female that's supposed to lead, there's so many awesome female writers in LA. Why me? Like, I'm not ready for this. I had to mentally give myself affirmations, and now 3 years later, I'm right here running the shop, doing
As it should be.
now, you know, Miami. I never been to Miami. I never been to New York, and here I am. I'm on my way, going.
Amazing. I mean, I think it's just so beautiful. And, you know, it's interesting. I think part of this conversation that I like to talk about is what other people see from the outside. You know, when I talk to you, I feel your strength. I hear your voice. I feel confidence from you, but we don't always have the ability to go there to express what's really going on inside, the vulnerability of that's going on inside. And I think, you know, as women and as just as humans, we kind of learn to walk through this world, hold your head up high, be confident, show that you're confident, walk the walk, fake it. And there's so much going on inside. So I think it's so beautiful to hear that from you.
Yeah, Alex, I have to agree really quick on that. Being born and raised in Los Angeles, it's a very, even with the graffiti culture, it's a very gang-oriented city where just walking around, like I said, I'm from Boyle Heights, East LA, so just being a female walking around, I would have my little brother tell me like, yo, don't talk to that person. You better look up, you know, look strong. If you don't, they're gonna take advantage of you. And every time, everywhere, I was always like, yo, don't look at me like that. And then now I get to step back, and it's like, no, you just create healthy boundaries and know your worth, move forward.
That's great. I mean, it's so important. And Katharina, I want to go back to you and your experience in the electronic music field.
Yeah, I was noodling on that about imposter syndrome. So in the film, the vignette with imposter syndrome has two chairs in it, a small chair and a bigger chair. And
oh, brilliant.
I moved from the smaller chair to the bigger chair. And spoiler alert, there's a very loud buzzing sound that goes off, kind of like a massive error sound, just kind of like, and then I rush back to the little chair. And that particular vignette, I think, has been the one that most folks have reached out, like that one, you know, that's one that a lot of people really resonate with. So that's been, the film has also been kind of like a field study in a way too, because everyone that sees it, it's been very sweet to kind of hear folks volunteer which part of it they especially resonated with, or which vignette that really felt like it hit them hard. And that one comes up a lot. So it's such a universal feeling across genders, across any type of human of any kind. But speaking from my own experience as a woman, both electronic music production is a very male-dominated field, and also directing. I direct and produce videos and my own music videos, or in this case, a short film. And that's also not necessarily a medium where women are thought of as the kind of default. And I feel like there's two different types of anxieties that can kind of coexist for women in male-dominated fields, and that's imposter syndrome and perfectionism. They both kind of come in because you feel like you need to hold yourself to a standard that's higher than everyone else's, right? Because if you slip up in any way, you're just a stereotype, or whatever it is that you fear that people are assuming, or that you yourself fear that people will assume of you. So those two kind of anxieties I find often connect, I notice in females working in male-dominated areas, where you feel like the margin for error is basically non-existent, because you know you have to uphold this standard. And you know, I was thinking about it just the other day. I was driving and I was parallel parking. And if people are watching me when I parallel park, it's like, I got to get that on the first try. Like it better be tight. Like, because I just feel like people are going to assume like, oh, a chick driver. And that is lame. It's lame to have that inner monologue, but it's obviously been planted over years and years of a culture and, kind of twisted norms and things like that. So I just think it's an interesting sort of the crossroads there that often occurs of the perfectionism and the imposter syndrome that can be kind of unique to certain groups of people in certain situations. Yeah, and like Lucy said, all you can do is do the thing anyway. You do it anyway, and maybe you don't get the parallel parking spot tight on the first try. Maybe you do, awesome. Maybe you don't, still totally fine. You lived, everything is fine. So I think really the antidote is to just do it anyway, right? Even if it scares you, even if it feels intimidating, even if folks are giving you the energy that they're doubting your capabilities, I think more often than not, you're going to show them, just like Lucy did, that they are wrong and that you are more than capable, if not more capable than other candidates. And that's, you lead by example and you just truck on to the best of your abilities, I think.
Absolutely. And Masa, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yes, I really related to what Katharina said about parallel parking. It's like the entire respect that my entire gender gets falls on my shoulders in this very moment right now. I better get this right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I, as a touring artist for a long time, all the industries that I've somehow ended up in are male dominated. That's just, I don't know if I'm attracted to these things because I'm trying to prove a point, like, look what women can do, or it's just the nature of the work that attracts me. It just so happens to be male dominated. But I know that I consistently get questions on who produces your music, who they just expect, especially if you're a vocalist, the second you put a mic to your face and start singing, people assume you're the face of this project. You're not the brains behind the operation. But I'm passionate about singing. I'm passionate about writing lyrics, like using language in my work, like tying that into the art form. And so not singing is not an option. So, at this point when I tour, when I talk to the audience, I do make it a point to say, I'm a self-produced artist. The visuals that you're seeing on the LED screen behind me are my own animation work. And I have to talk about myself in a way that's not comfortable, but to make it, to normalize it, that, women are not just the face of products. They're world builders. They are they are taking things, massive undertakings that we are inventing. And as far as the sculpture world, I have a sculpture studio that has large windows, and the pieces that I'm working on, I'm typically standing on a scaffold and working on pieces, and there's people that walk by all the time and they're seeing, this lone woman in a studio who is handling heavy machinery and doing large scale work. But it's really interesting, the comments that I get, even though they are witness to the fact that I am the person who's doing the work. My partner, who is a man, sometimes comes and visits, and sometimes if my roll up doors to the studio, if they're up, when people pass by, they stop by and strike up a conversation. And people who see me working on these sculptures day in and day out, like once a month or something, my partner comes and they show up and start asking him questions like, what material are you, as if I'm his assistant who is doing the work, but he's really the designer behind the work, and I'm just clocking in and out. I'm putting in the hours to make his vision come to life. Just bizarre things, like they just cannot, even though they're seeing it with their own eyes, they're witnessing that a woman is doing this work, they just somehow can't connect the dots. Like, it's just so unusual for a woman to weld. It's so unusual for a woman to do heavy work and look feminine. And it's just, the idea of femininity is just so limited in people's minds. Like, when I leave my studio, people comment on what I'm wearing, like, oh, what you're wearing today is really nice, or you know, it's never about the work. So those are challenges, and I think these specific challenges really light a fire under my butt to really highlight women, not just as a professional person, but also as the subject matter of what I'm doing. And the series I'm working on is, you know, modern female mythology, is about highlighting what women's lives are really like. And I became really interested in mythology, and I was trying to read stories about women and just not finding it. Thousands of years of mythology stories, and I'm not finding it. As someone who just wanted to read it, I had no intention to just all of a sudden start writing mythological stories. But as someone who was interested in writing it, I wasn't finding it. And the stories that were written by women or about women were by men, and they're very stereotypical. And they're always, you know, a damsel in distress, or just very stereotypical points that just keep getting hit again and again. So because of, you know, experiencing this type of prejudice, I have, you know, just made it a point to make this the subject of my work as well, and really highlight what we're up against.
Something you just said, Masa, made me think of something, which is kind of projecting an idea of who we are, who you are, even if it's uncomfortable, whether it's because you're trying to course correct other people's idea of who you are, or because you're trying to deal with anxiety, right? So like this idea of clothes as armor, or actions as armor, or a name, or am I making sense? Like, I'm curious if, you know, for instance, for me, there's this idea of what a curator is. A curator dresses like this, a curator talks like this. And I've always had this kind of imposter syndrome around, how do I present as a curator? Yeah. Whereas that's really not what a curator is. It's like, that's the external, right? So there are things that we have to do, and it's not just imposter syndrome, and it's not just related to gender or you know, gender dynamics, but some of these other chapters or different recognizable forms of anxiety that Katharina, you brought up are, as you said, perfectionism, body image, social anxiety. I mean, that's a big one. It's like, I feel like there's so many moments when I have to put on a mask, project something to deal with my social anxiety. So I'd love to hear from you all what your experience of having to, like, this idea of walk the walk, and it's not always a negative thing. You know, sometimes we use an alter ego, like Shana Moulton does in our current exhibition, use the alter ego to work through ideas or to give yourself strength. So it could actually be a means of embracing your vulnerability, but on the other hand, it could be a way of protecting, you know, protecting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was a lot. Yeah. Oh, please.
Yeah, I think that's a super interesting part, right? The social anxiety and the masking, and how you naturally kind of also wear different hats with different people, and how that in some ways is natural and normal and partially probably healthy. But then where is the line for when you are, sort of squeezing into a smaller, narrower mold than you are, and when is the masking kind of constricting rather than just natural? And an example for me was when I launched my solo project, my music solo project, Galeriet. I was very torn about what the the image would be of the project, because I had this kind of preconceived notion that electronic music, at least the kind that I was wanting to work in, which wanted to kind of, I intended to cross the barriers of sort of fine art, and I wanted to perform in gallery spaces, and I wanted the whole project to kind of have almost like a fine art type vibe to it. And so therefore I'm like, well, I can't smile in any of the photos. Like, you just can't be smiling. That's not appropriate. And like, you know, a shirt like this would have been like, well, that's not right. It's gotta be black. It's gotta be, you know, and that can be super cool and everything. I'm just not necessarily that gal. So it's interesting too, how one has, just like you were saying, Alexandra, about what your idea is of what a curator should be. They should look like this, they should be this, they should be that. I also had preconceived notions of what is an electronic musician, specifically if they're also a producer and a fine artist. There has to be a level of, you know, heft and seriousness, and there's no room for humor or quirk or anything that would be sort of considered playful. I'm a very playful person, and that I felt like, oh, I have to sort of sever that limb. And I think that's constantly something that comes up when you enter new fields and new mediums, just kind of questioning why you think that it has to be this way or has to look this way, and why you perceive, just like Lucy going into her kind of new line of work, why you perceive that, yeah, why couldn't it be me? Why couldn't it be me? Like, just the way I am, like with all of me, why couldn't that be what the mold is shaped after, rather than me adjusting to some idea of a mold that is probably not that interesting in the first place, because it's been done, and that's why it's in your head, because you've seen it many, many times, rather than just kind of shaping a new mold and make it after you, because then it's going to be different, it's going to be unique, because we all are. So I think yeah, I think that's a really interesting topic for sure. And yeah, social anxiety, and you know, all of that, there's so many onion layers to peel there. But Masa, I'll let you talk a little on.
I want to say that your social anxiety vignette, I think, is my favorite vignette in the film. And I don't want to say what it is, because I'm just so excited for people that haven't seen your film, and they're going to get that first time of taking it in. Oh, it's so exciting. Yes, that vignette is gorgeous. You know, I do think a lot about this exact thing you're talking about the fact that such a huge aspect of imposter syndrome is us as women. By default, we're not even considering that, oh, we don't belong in this space, therefore I'm going to expand the space so that I also fit in. I think it's almost like we need someone to give us permission to say, oh, no, this thing that you do could very well fit like Alexandra. The way you dress and the way you present yourself is the new way that a curator presents themselves. You know, that this is the new cool of what a curator looks like. And we need elements in our lives, whether it's other people or the things that we work on, the knowledge we acquire, how we engage with our world, the things that give us confidence in our day-to-day life can give us that permission, even if it's not direct encouragement from people in our lives. Like how much you're applying yourself to your work and how much you're feeding your hunger, like these are the ingredients that make up how, like Lucy, I was just so struck. I was not expecting your story to go where it went when you were retelling that interview. The moment you said, how about I come in at the same time as this person, we work for a month, I just thought, where did you get that idea? I never would have thought to do that.
Out of my ass. That's
brilliant. In the moment,
I told myself, like, no, like how, I mean, really quick, I was like, how dare this person not even give me a shot? I'm right here doing so much work on myself, thinking I'm the boss in this retail cosmetics. I'm respected here. I fit the mold. I wear all black. My makeup is on cue. If you come in, I could sell you, in Spanish we say tacos de aire. That's like air tacos. I could sell you nothing. and you'll leave happy with it. So now I'm coming into a world as an established person and telling them like, hey, what's up? And they're just like,
Well, you know what I just think is so brilliant, Lucy, is that you came up with that. You know, you had it in there, obviously. You like reacted in the moment, you figured that out. And now you, through your curation and your artistic practice, are creating opportunities for women and women identifying individuals in these more male dominated fields. Like really, as you were saying, Masa, you know, we should be going in and expanding it in order to help create space. And I feel like, Lucy, you're doing that with, maybe you can tell us a bit about Ladies First LA, because I just think it's so brilliant.
It's funny because Ladies First LA started at Montana Shop. I actually, I had been approached by a well-respected Los Angeles graffiti crew. A crew is, to explain a little more, is pretty much a group of individuals, not always male, but predominantly male, that come together and they want to do art. There's a big difference between gangs and graffiti crews. The main thing is, you know, gangs is more territorial, it's more in the upbringing, and the graffiti is more of a craft, it's an art, it's a passion. So, you know, with that, God, I lost my train of thought trying to explain the difference between. Woo! Yeah,
you were approached by somebody when you were at Montana.
Yeah, actually, I said I joined. It was STN, Second to None. It was a crew that started in the '80s, and they told me, "Yo, girl, like we love what you're doing. You really know how to represent LA." And I was like, "Yeah, I do. What's up?" So you know, they got me in STN, and one of my crewmates told me, okay, so you think you do graffiti? And I was like, yeah, I do graffiti. They're like, so you know Wink? No, I don't know Wink. Well, then you're a toy, which in graffiti lingo is called like, you know, a wannabe. You're a toy because you claim you're a female writer and you're about feminism and women empowerment, but you don't know Wink. You haven't done your homework. And I was like, okay, you're right. Love it. Put me on game. You're gonna give me constructive criticism, I'm here, take it, roll with the punches, but give me some information after that. So he did, and he gave me the Instagram of Wink, and he tells me, you know, Wink's been painting in the graffiti culture for over 25 years, and you don't know her. So I went and I reached out to Wink and I said, hey, I'm just sending you this DM. My name is Lucy, and I know you don't know me. I just want to tell you thank you for what you do for the women graffiti culture, for holding it down for over 25 years. To still be doing that, it's amazing. And you're really forefronting us and showing that we are here, we exist. So I invited her to a shop. I told her, can you please come? So she came, we met, and she told me, you know what? In the 25 years that I've been doing graffiti, I've never been invited to be in a show. I've asked to be in the show because my husband is a well-respected writer, and he's always getting invited. So then I tell him like, hey, can I? And then he has to go ask. He has to go vouch. He has to go say, hey, he has to go sell me now. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And she's like, I don't know a lot of girls that do graffiti. And I told her, you're kidding me, right? Like, she's like, no, because she's like, girl, I don't want to date myself, but we're in a time where there was no Instagram. You know, you went and found them in the field. So no, I did not go and find a lot of girls out there. So I was like, okay, well, check it. I got a whole bunch of dope females that don't only do graffiti. They're wild. They're moms. They're bosses. They're doing their independent businesses. They're still painting. They're doing 2 jobs, and then they're still sending me affirmations at the end of the day. Girl, you're gonna trip out on these females. She was like, all right, well, let's do it. And I told her, okay, well, I have this platform, Montana Shop, and my boss owes me a favor. So we're gonna do this show here, and we're not gonna pay anything. And if we have to pay for a porta potties, we'll do whatever we gotta do. We don't need no money from no man. We're doing this female from beginning to the end, from the flyer, from organizing, from hanging the art, from getting it all together. We're going to do this on our own. So we did. And it was more successful than the Montana shop 1 year anniversary ever. It is the first shop in the United States, and the ladies first overdid it, where shout out to Jordi, which is like the CEO of Montana Colors from Barcelona. He flew out for the show. So he flew out for the show. He congratulated me. And it really just kind of it just told me what I needed to do. That moment, I knew that the only way you're going to heal is by helping the voiceless. And with all respect, when I say that, I would like to explain myself with that, is I have a gift, a voice. There's no hairs in my tongue. I could talk all day. You need to tell me to shut up. I have friends, really talented friends, females that just they want to, they have the skill, and they're just like, so I see it. And I go, hey, have you met my friend Baba? Well, did you know that she does this, 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 this? If you ever need that, here's her contact. Check out her Instagram. She's not gonna let you watch it, but here you go. I'm the ultimate hype woman. And I've noticed that I do that as a reflection of my healing. Like, seeing my community grow and have what I didn't have, or be able to see it in their eyes and be like, I know what you want to say, hold up. And I'll just blah, and they're just like, wow, thank you, you know? So I just try to use whatever platform I have to help. You know, it's not always going to be perfect. Anybody that has this strong personality is also going to come with a lot of, you know, like, firm but fair. I have a strong personality, you know, that's a nicer way to say it, but my intentions are good. And I always try to self-reflect before I go and give my advice. So it's cute to give all this advice and be like, yo, you know, you should. But I notice what's helped me heal, even from imposter syndrome, is reflecting on myself, journaling, and being like, where are you hiding? What's really going on right there, girlfriend? It's like, why are you focused on that? What's up with you? Why are you deflecting this? And, you know, just being uncomfortable has made me the most comfortable person I am today, and the most confident person I am.
That's so cool. I mean, this idea of the uncomfortable, and I think what's so beautiful is all of you are taking on that discomfort in order to support others who could potentially be suffering from similar feelings of anxiety or self-criticism that we are. You know, Lucy, this story just shows that, you know, reaching out to Wink and making, just going for it, and giving a platform for your friends and colleagues to have a voice. And Katharina, to make that film, to have the vulnerability to make a film called I Have Anxiety, and to really just show it. And there is humor, but it's you know, it's like exposing a raw nerve. And Masa, what you were talking about with the myth and really seeking for these historical stories of women and the divine feminine and not finding it, so creating it yourself. I mean, that's just, you know, you're all having to live in this level of discomfort in order to create beauty and comfort and possibility for other people. And I just find that so inspirational and so beautiful.
Likewise to you, Alex. Don't forget about yourself. What's up? That's what I'm talking about. You know?
That's why we're all in here on the panel.
Exactly, bringing us all, lifting the three of us up.
Yeah. I feel like we could keep talking for. I just want to like ask the audience. Does anybody have any questions? Any individual questions? Anything that, you know? Throw it into the chat. I just, you know, if you need advice on something specific, whatever, I don't know. But what I wanted to ask all of our panelists while we're waiting for some questions to come in is. We talked a little bit about this before we welcome the audience in, but if there's a piece of advice, and the way I phrased this to all of you in an email was, if there's a piece of advice you would give yourself 10 years ago or 5 years ago, what would it be? But what we discussed before we came in today is that we actually need some of that advice is for us right now. It's for us now. It's for us in the past. It's for us in the future. So I'd love for maybe we can go around and just think about, and you know, advice. It doesn't have to be like uber prescriptive, but just what would you tell yourself? Lucy, let's start with you. You're on my right, so that's why I went like that.
Let's do it. I'm doing my own self-discipline by listening. That's one of my personal things. I have the tendency to overspeak, and not in a bad way, because I do like to feel that what I gotta say is worth listening to, but also you gotta let other people let it out so they can hear it, so they can hear themselves, so they can heal from it. And me personally, my current journey is stepping back and listening to my partner, my husband, my coworkers, my family, my homegirls, my everybody, my community. But the number one thing that I told myself and I tell myself every day is get comfortable staying uncomfortable. And that's why I just I had the honor to do a mural last month at the Shops of Montebello, and Marina asked me, what's the title of your mural? And I told her, you got to go through it to grow through it. And that's what's gotten me. You know, I always try to dodge, oh, I didn't pay my credit card. Oh man, now I'm in collections. I'm just gonna not answer the phone. I'm gonna die someday. Doesn't matter. Now, how about we just answer a phone? How about we just deal with it, hear our truths, and move forward? Because a couple of days of uncomfortableness is better than living your whole life thinking you're not gonna do it. And then when you do it, you're like, geez, that's it. That's it. That's all I had to do. This whole time, I was like, those rocks. That I didn't even watch the short film, and I was like, I looked at my husband and I was like, I'm already gonna like this. I already know this is relevant. And I still feel like I walk with rocks on my neck. And I know they're knots. I know they're stress knots. They're physical knots that I created out of stress from the toxins that I created from my overthinking, of thinking not good enough, of people are judging me. Am I doing this right? Am I being mindful to my community? Am I being too greedy now? What's happening? Just this constant reluctantness of, hey, you're doing good. Keep doing it. You're doing good. How about a tap on the shoulder? Like, but no, like I said, I am more willing to slap myself. I've only done it twice, you know, but instead of just hug myself even. It's so crazy. So with that being said, that long intro, to my fellow peers, I just want to say to stay uncomfortable, and you're never alone. People look at me and they're always like, oh, Lucy, yeah, she's strong. I've cried myself to sleep. I have to read a lot of literature. I have to constantly remind myself of my worth. And I have an amazing support system that I'm so blessed I can't even express to you guys, that constantly grounds me and reminds me that what I'm doing is exactly what I need to do. It's meant for my journey, and I don't need to see it. That's meant for 7 generations. So with that being said, that's what I would recommend.
Thank you.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Katharina?
Yeah, I have a little quote. I bring you a quote. You may have heard it. It's a Leonard Cohen quote. And it goes like this. I found that things became a lot easier when I no longer expected to win. You abandon your masterpiece and sink into the real masterpiece. And you can unpack that one. I feel like there's a lot to unpack there, but I think for me, the reason that is profound still today, and would have been profound 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is partly about this idea of letting go of the need to win. And to me, I see that as when you're able to let go of that, you've already won. Like that is the ultimate win, right? Is letting go of the need to win. And then this particular choice of words about you abandon your masterpiece and sink into the real masterpiece. And I feel like that is profound from an artistic point of view, but also just from a life point of view, about just loosening that grip. And anxiety is so myopic and limiting, constricting. It constricts us from seeing our own potential, or from trusting ourselves, or from trusting the world around us. And it makes us think small and see small. And we're all big, and the world is big and expansive. And I feel like when you're able to maintain that bigger picture, the anxiety is not as capable of grabbing hold. And so any idea that you may have of what the masterpiece is, or what winning is most likely just very small in comparison to what it really is. And I think there's something so profound about that thought, that you abandon this something that you really felt strongly about, but you realize that there's something even bigger waiting when you do. So that's my little tidbit.
Yeah, that's
just your little tidbit. Just profound,
Just a little tidbit.
beautiful, left me breathless, and now I just want to sit here and take it in. Little tid, just a little.
A little whoop, right there. Yeah. Little crumb.
Yeah.
Little crumb. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, sharing this is an exercise in vulnerability in itself, because an aspect of going back and examining your life and trying to nurture the past you is, it's not grounded in regret, but there's this tender person you want to tend to. And for me, I was 10 years ago or so, I lived my life very passively, and I had very little self-worth. And I was, I had experienced long years of trauma, sexual abuse in my life. And I was just in a place where I was just surviving and just trying to just make it to the next day. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't watching films. I wasn't listening to music. I wasn't honing any crafts. I think I just spent so much energy trying to find safe people in my life that I could hold on to, whether they were friends or boyfriends. And I always had a boyfriend. I always just gave so much energy to having a person in my life that makes me feel loved, because I had such low self-worth. And eventually, like little whispers caught on, and I started to hear things that I'm actually interested in as a person. Like, because of, enduring so much abuse and stuff, a lot of vibrance in my life had gotten erased. I was not this person who was living their life. I was this person who was, on an ongoing journey of survival. And I would just tell her, I would stick her in the library very, very lovingly, gently, not in an aggressive way. You'll get locked in there. I would give her a lot of books. I would show her films, and after she's done watching those films, I would sit down and say, what do you think about that film? And just talk about it to death. What do you think about this? What are your interests? What do you think about this? What do you think about? I would tell her to stop having boyfriends all the time and spend that time on herself and go on this giant archaeological journey to find out, what are you passionate about? What is exciting to you? Because life is just so delicious, and you're missing it. I would give her a piece of fruit, and I would slice it and hold it up to the sun and see, look at this, look at how beautiful this is. Okay, now stand right here in the sun and eat this and let the juices just drip down your arms. Isn't this the most beautiful experience? And I would just really try to get her to understand that this frequency, this like buzzing with hunger for knowledge and learning about things and just standing in front of stacks of books and learning and unearthing ideas, this is all worth living for, and it's so beautiful. And I need to hear this to this day. Like, this is advice that's applicable to me now, even though I do live on that frequency a lot more often, but I need that reminder for sure. And
that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because what I hear from all of you is about is it's coming from different perspectives, but it's about creating space for yourself. To just be vulnerable, to be who you are, to let go of trying to win, to, you know, really examine what your interests are, to calm things down so you really check in with how you're doing, how, you know, how you're feeling. It's like about creating space inside of ourselves and for each other. And actually on that note, I want to ask one more question, because we got a couple of questions in the chat box and they're sort of resonate on the same wavelength, which is, what are you doing to take care of yourself now? You know, in these productive moments, in these areas where we're creating work and we're making a name for ourselves and we're creating space for other women and other creators. What are things that you're doing to slow down, take care of yourself, whether that's a physical act or, Lucy, you talked about affirmations. How are you taking care of yourself?
Well, when I started analyzing a few years back, that I had a lot of anger and resentment. I do come from a single mother. My dad has drug issues. He's homeless. My brother is 5150. That's from, you know, just the opposite spectrum of the graffiti realm. Everything is as much energy that you give it. So what I currently have been doing in the past couple of years pre-COVID was going to the botanical gardens on the free days. So I take advantage of my resources, and I would go to botanical gardens and I would just sit there, journal, and force myself to not move. And that was the hardest thing, because I was brought up you know, Mexican, Salvadorian. You wake up, start washing the dishes, you go sweep, we're gonna, you know, figure out what your dad's gonna wear to work, then you're gonna, you know, do the whole 9, and then you're gonna do your homework, and maybe you'll go out for a little while, but this is what you're gonna do, and get used to it, because when you grow up, you're gonna be a wife, you're gonna have kids, and you're gonna live a happy life, whatever. So I told myself, you know what, I have to unlearn these bad behaviors. My parents, my grandparents, they didn't mean bad. They just didn't know about the alternatives of living. We don't have to kill ourselves to death. Like, life will do that to you. Let's do the opposite. Let's use this negative energy that's brought onto us. A lot of times I'm systematically, at least for me, I'm a person of color. So systematically, the anger and the pain and anguish that's brought on to my generation, how can I harness that energy? And almost, I mean, to make it in a humorous way, like, how can I Dragon Ball Z this back? How can I use this anger and this fire I have to my advantage and to help someone not go through it? All right, then I need to calm down and use my platform. So what I do is now, post-COVID, I read, I stay off Instagram. I stay off Instagram. One last thing, I stay off Instagram. The only time I go on is to post affirmations on my stories on Ladies First LA, Homegirlism. If you see them, those affirmations are for me. All of that is for self. I put them out there because I know, because I hear it every single day. There's 30 other people that feel the same way. And that just, all the times I'll get messages, thank you, I needed that. Well, shit, girl, that's two of us. Sit down, let's read a book, because there's a lot of stuff up here that I need helping with. So really quick, that's pretty much doing that. And I let myself be vulnerable by sharing my struggles, because no one is perfect. So for me to stand here and be like, I'm a well-educated person, and I come from a well-respected family. Like, no, I come from a single mother, Section 8, and now I own property. I own my own condo. I am married. I am traveling. I am getting paid from my work to travel. I dropped out of college and I'm doing it. Whatever you want to do, handle it, baby. We got your back. Reach out. You need paint. You need Curator. What's up? Reach out. And that's where it's at. Community. It takes a village. Yeah. For me to sit here and be like, I did this all by myself because I'm a badass. Lies. No one did it by themselves. We need each other, and we need to uplift, and then we just keep on doing it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Like the sermon, I love it.
I know, I'm a hot mess.
No, it's amazing.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Like I always say, it does come from good intention, and I feel the more I have the privilege to be amongst women like you, I learn, and I get to share it to someone else, because whatever you guys gave me, the gift of knowledge, I'm gonna go and tell my homegirl right now. I'm gonna go figure out. I'm gonna go do more research. I'm gonna figure out how I can let other women know that they're going through this without even knowing. I guarantee you, a lot of my friends, not only females that logged in or even reposted this, did not know what imposter syndrome was or means. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, a product of your environment. Unfortunately, the graffiti culture it's not cool to be educated. It's not cool to have your stuff together. Well, I'm changing the narrative. It's dope. It's cool to do what you love and get paid. Okay? So
it's a blessing. And I think, by taking care of ourselves, we're setting that example. Absolutely. And Masa, what you were saying about what you would provide for yourself, and what you would, just the space and the library and the fruit, I just thought that was so touching. And what do you do now? What do you do now to take care of yourself?
I eat a lot of fruit in a very messy way. I just stand over the sink with a watermelon and literally just let it, and I do this dance. Yes. I'm also staying off Instagram. I'm taking 1 year off from Instagram, which is very radical nowadays. Yeah. It's considered a radical move for your career. Are you crazy? Are you killing your career? So that's been huge. Movement is a really big part of my mental health. And for me, that's how I can achieve a meditative state sitting. It's really hard for me to get into that liminal space. Like when I'm moving, that's when my imagination really comes alive. And it's kind of akin to when you first wake up, you're half asleep, half awake. So I try to incorporate a lot of movement, swimming in the river, because I live in Portland and I have rivers all around me, cold water, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, just stream of consciousness style, journaling at all hours. Like when I hit a wall with anything in my personal life, anything in my creative life, I just have notebooks everywhere. I'm just like scribbling. I talk to myself as if, I'm my own mother. Like, let's figure this out. I am my own nurturer. Let's figure this out. And I use some vulnerability exercises in my life. Like my partner and I, we do these things where we mimic each other's dance moves, facial expressions, like you make facial expression, and we're just like mimicking it and getting into these spaces where you're just not embarrassed of who you are, and you just shed all the things that you feel like, oh, I should put on, I am this person who looks like this and acts like this and moves like this in the world. Like, I mean, of course, I'm not doing this on a stage, like in like an improv comedy theater, but it's still in a safe space. But, you know, these are things you can do to get yourself first to feel really alive when you do these things, when you're singing improv and making weird facial expressions and doing weird dances. It makes you feel really alive. It makes you laugh like crazy, which, you know, that's taking care of your mental health right there. And another thing is, you know, something that is an antidote for imposter syndrome for me, for anxiety, all of these things, is to remember that these are not the only things I identify with. Everybody to a certain extent experiences imposter syndrome and anxiety, but this is not all that I experience. I'm also hungry for knowledge. I'm also passionate, and you think about the things that really make you feel alive, and you start to identify with these things that are sources of light in your life, and apply yourself to these things, engage your body in these things. Like when you're cooking, like don't always have a podcast on, don't always just have like noise in the background, like engage with your body, with the things that you're doing. Yeah, I don't want to keep going on and on. I mean, but yeah, these are some things.
I gotta turn, all I'm doing while I'm cooking is listening to podcasts. I gotta.
It's good sometimes.
I know, you're right. It's like I'm not connecting with what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
Well, and I just, you know, I want to start wrapping things up, but Katharina, you brought us here. Your film started it. I want to know, you know, you took this, you really opened up, you created this platform for us to start this conversation. What are you doing to take care of yourself?
Well, making the film and putting it out was a way to take care of myself, and connecting with folks in the aftermath of the film coming out and people seeing it has been an incredibly powerful and empowering part of the process for me. And making the film, and in so doing, seeing my anxiety from the outside, sort of dressing it up, making the anxiety sort of in some ways separate from me, where I can look at it and watch the film the same way anyone else who watches the film can participate in watching it, has also been empowering in seeing it not as much as something that is everything I am, but seeing it as something that is, you know, a part of me, a very human, relatable, connected, vulnerable part of me, and doesn't define me, but also at the same time is in some ways a very beautiful human part of me and my creativity and my vulnerability. I think that's been a big way for me to take care of myself and these feelings, is making it into something larger than me that can connect with other folks and resonate with other folks. And on a very, very small level, something I did recently to care for myself, to make it, you know, to turn 180 from something big like a project of art, is I bought this really yummy little jar of face lotion that I have been loving, and it's lavender scented, and I've been putting off getting something good moisturizing for my face since forever. I haven't had anything. I just like have this basic face wash and I go to bed and folks tell me all the time, you should moisturize. And I'm like, I just don't. I have never looked up a product that I like. And then I got a recommendation for this product that is, you know, so lovely and well made, and handmade by this woman in Nashville. And I ordered a little jar, and now that I put it on in the evenings, it's just a little kiss from me to me that I've been enjoying before I go to bed. And it's the little things, you know.
Love that. A kiss from me to me.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
We need that.
It's amazing on every level, those kind of basic levels of everyday tasks, how you take care of yourself, and then just kind of stopping, you know, bad behavior in its tracks, and all of these things that we can do.
Yes,
Mhm.
right. That's right.
Well, thank you. I swear we could just, maybe there will be a part 2.
I'm here for it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you
This is
all.
cool.
This was really, it's just like so touching and so wonderful to be with you all. I feel such a deep connection, and I'm really grateful for your generosity and your vulnerability, and sharing with the world, and sharing with our audience, and sharing with me your experience of creativity and imposter syndrome. And I have to say it, you know, hearing it and talking about it really helps me kind of work through it through myself. So selfishly, thank you all, but hopefully it was touching for our audience as well.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you to all y'all. This was so much fun.
And please check out these wonderful speakers. Their information is available. I think it's on our event page, but if not, I'm going to go link to everybody on there. So please support our lovely speakers and be kind to yourselves. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Thank you.
such a pleasure.
Talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.